Hey guys, today we are going to deal with PHP and JSON. Most of the time when we build our website, we are going to have a folder with a bunch of JSON files inside. Those files may contain contact details or details about the website's owner or some basic settings that we apply to the website. So today we are going to write a PHP application to edit those JSON files. Let me quick explain what we have here. On the left, we display the JSON files that we have somewhere on the server in a folder. We display those file names as links. When we click on a file name, we display the properties and values of the selected JSON file on the right. The labels are the properties and the values are displayed inside input fields so we can edit them. You will see that in a minute. Let's change the theme value to light and let's see where those values are coming from. In my project's root, I have a JSON files folder, which contains the JSON files that we saw in the demonstration. Here is the admin file, the founder's JSON file, and the settings.json file, in which we change the theme value to light. Let me say that the application will handle everything dynamic. We don't need to know the names of the JSON files or the content inside them. The only thing that we need to know is the folder that the files are in. And with that said, let me show you the remaining files and let's start coding. I have a blank PHP file in which I'm going to write the PHP code. I have an index file with a basic HTML structure and with a link to the CSS file in line 6. And last, I have a CSS file which I will not cover. There are some basic rules in here to style the application's layout. Now let's go to the index file and start coding. Inside the body tags, I will have a div element with a class of page. The page element will hold all the HTML code we need to lay out our application. Next, I will split the page in two sections. I will have a div element with a class of files. This is going to be the left section where we're displaying the JSON file names. And I will have another div element with a class of edit section, in which we are going to display the JSON values inside the input fields. Now let's go to the first div element with a class of files and write the PHP code to fetch the JSON file names from the JSON files folder. Let's put a title to the file section and open PHP tags to write our PHP code. To fetch the JSON file names, we are going to use the glob function. The glob function finds path names matching a pattern. In our case here, we are saying to the glob function to fetch all files with a .json extension from the JSON files folder. The function returns an array containing the matching file paths or an empty array if nothing matches the pattern. Next, we are going to loop through the files array and fetch every file path that the array contains. But let's first take a look inside the files array. We see that the files array is holding the file paths to the JSON files. That is not what we want to display. We only want the file name. So we are going to use the base name function to get from the file path the file's name. Next, I'm going to display every file name inside a tags as links. Now I'm going to add a query string inside the href attribute that will send in the same page the file's name. This is a key value pair. We are setting the key equal to file and the value equal to the file's name. By doing so, I will be able to catch the file name in the right section. You will see in a minute what I mean. Now let's load in the index file. Now let's load the index file in the browser to check if our PHP code works. I have to reload the page and we see the JSON file names. And when I click on them, we see the file name in the browser's URL. Now let's go back to the index file and code the right section. The next step is to catch the query string that we sent when we click on a file name, and we will do that from inside the edit section. Let's give the section a title and let's open again PHP tags to write the PHP code. Inside the PHP tags, we will first check if there is a GET request, and specific if there is a file key. The file key is holding the file's name. If this is true, if there is a GET request, we create a variable named file and store the file name. Next, we use the file getContents function to fetch the data from the JSON file using the file name from the GET request. The data that we fetch are in a JSON format, which basically is a string. So we have to decode the JSON data to a PHP array so we can work with them. So we use the Json Decode function to convert the JSON data and store them in a variable. The keyword true as the second argument will tell the function to decode the data to an array. If we omit it, the function will return an object. Next, we are going to loop through the enc file array and fetch the keys and the values with a for each function. Now, inside the loop, I will use a form element for every key value pair. I will set the action attribute equal to index.php. That will submit the form to the page that we are. And I will send the super global server query string variable as a query string. That means that the form will submit the data to the same page, sending back the URL's query string. We do this because the query string contains the file name and we need the file name to edit the data in the PHP file. You will see when we get to the PHP file. Next, I will have a label to display the key variable and an input field in which I will assign the key to the name attribute and the value to the value attribute. And last, we will have the submit button. Before we run the file in the browser, I will go to the title element and display the selected file. The @ sign tells the server not to display a warning if the variable is not set. Now let's check if the code works. Let's open the browser, reload the page, and click on the files. Here is the admin JSON file, the founder, and the settings.json file. So far so good. If I change the theme to dark and press the save button, the value is not going to update because we didn't write the code yet. So let's go to the script.php file to write the PHP code. First of all, we are going to check if we have a post request. If this is true, we are going to assign the incoming post to the data variable. Also, we have to grab the file name from the URL with a get method by targeting the file key. Next, we are going to loop through the data array to fetch the incoming keys and values. But before that, let's see what the data array holds. We see that by clicking on the save button, we get the data from the input field and the submit button. But we are interested only in the input field's data, not in the submit button. So inside the loop, I will grab everything else except the submit button. Inside the if statement, I will grab the contents of the JSON file by using the file name that the file variable holds. And I will convert the JSON data to an array and store them in the decoded data variable. Let's see what the decoded data variable holds. It is an associative array that holds the content of the file that we clicked on to edit. Next, I will use a second for each function to loop through the decoded data array. I will find the value that I want to update by checking if the key from the first for each loop matches the field variable from the second loop. And if we have a match, I will update the value. And last, outside from both for each loops, we encoding the data back to JSON using the Json Encode function. And with the file put contents function, we write the data back to the file. I misspelled the decoded data variable twice. Let's fix it. Now we're good. The last thing that I have to do is to go to the top of the index file and include the script.php file. And now let's run a final test in the browser to check if everything works. Let's change the admin's password to 1, 2, 3, and 4 and press the save button. Nice, the password has changed. We can see this also in the JSON file. And that's all. There is nothing more to it. This is the end of today's tutorial. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. See you in the next one.